Speaking of Boosie, though, I got to ask you, when you saw what happened with him and Vlad,
right?
Give me the math on this from your look. He was making $25,000 an interview, and because he saw 6ix9ine was making what at the time he thought 40, he asked for a price increase.
Well, first of all, let me give you the philosophical perspective, right? You know, as a leader in our community who lead 40,000 people, you know, in my organization, Hip Hop Fraternity, you know, and who pushes, you know, excellence in our community, who also pushes independence. You know, I understand that there are a certain group of people who have machinations and strategies, right, in order to marginalize and to disrupt what we got going on. Because you and Rook and bro here, y'all have black media. You know what I'm saying? Y'all represent black media. Charlemagne represent black media. You know, all the other brothers, you know, Boss Talk represent black media. I think that it was a concerted effort, right? It was a strategy to get Boosie that money for protracted periods of time in order to disrupt black media, right? Because if you give Boosie $25,000, right, and you give it to him on a continuous basis, when Rook called him and say, man, come on, do real life street stars, he gonna have that perception in his head that he need 25,000. So what that does is that hurt black media organizations like yourself, and it pretty much precludes you guys from actually getting that interview when traditionally, you know, black media was the place to go if you wanted to promote black concepts and you want to promote black situations, right? You know, like me, you know, I mean, I went to K Slay. I went to This Is 50 back in the day because I was trying to promote my book, you know. But if K Slay, you know, is a independent African-American journalist and I go to him and I say, look here, I want to promote my book and I want 25,000. It's not sustainable because first of all, we all know how YouTubes work. You know, if you get about 10,000, you got to get at least 1 million point views. So, you know what I'm saying? To get 1 million point views is to give somebody 20,000, you're going $10,000 in the rear. But people like Vlad, who have the complexion for the connection, you know what I'm saying? He has the right, you know, skin color. He can go to, you know, these gambling promoters, marketing sites, and he can go to all these other sites and he can do sidebar deals and he can get $50,000, $60,000. So he can offset, you know, giving Boosie 25,000 because what it's going to do is going to disrupt everything that black media got. So it's going to make it hard for you guys to compete with him, and it's going to make him the creme de la creme, you know. And now that he's paying all of these artists because he's getting extra money with what they call it, promotional ads and so on and so forth, it makes it difficult for our brothers and sisters that, you know, who found something new. You know, the internet was supposed to be an equal playing field. The purpose of the internet is the fourth industrial revolution. You know, you had the railroad industrial revolution. It was the fourth industrial revolution where it equaled the playing field and made it possible for brothers like ourselves who are in media, black media in particular, you know what I'm saying, to create a living for ourselves. And we don't have to go to CNN. We don't have to go to ABC. We don't have to go. We had our own entity, right? And, you know, you think about the collaboration. You look at Leo Cohen, you know, who's formerly a Def Jam executive. Now he's the vice president over there. All them guys is in cahoots.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And they trying to destroy black media, and they'll use people like Boosie and Tekashi 6ix9ine and all of these other guys that they got, you know, Adam 22, all them people, man, you know, them people, they have money. Adam 22 I was watching an interview, he said, I'm a multi-millionaire. You know what I'm saying? So these guys, they can afford to do things to create a level of competition where they can wave you guys out. So I looked at Boosie's situation. I'm glad that Boosie, you know, kind of walked away from that situation, not in particular for the money aspect of it, in particular that, you know, it shined a light on the backhand and the sidebar shit that goes on, you know, within the podcast industry. You know, how these people are using, you know, their connections and their finances in order to, you know, make it harder for guys like you guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when you see Boosie saying, I want to own my own content, so I'm going to start interviewing myself. I'm going to just do it myself. What are your thoughts as far as him just saying, I'm going to get into the game and I'm going to just do it myself as far as trying to imitate what he was doing with Vlad?
Well, I'm a former pimp, right? So me, I own all my shit. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to go to Vlad. I ain't got to go nowhere. I'm pimping out the gate. I'm a pimp myself. That's why my name is Pimpin Ken. I'm Pimpin Ken. Me. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how I look at the game. And that's how everybody else should look at it. Pimp yourself. You know what I'm saying? Why would you give your IP? I give this analogy all the time. My brothers, I respect y'all. But one of the things that I hate that my brothers do, they go to Atlantic, they go to Columbia, they go to Sony Music, and they give them a 85% deal. They let them give them 85%, they give them 15% royalty. Okay, so that's $1 million, that's $850,000, they get $150,000. But if I came to you and I gave you $50,000 for a Rolls Royce, you would tell me that him must think I'm crazy because the Rolls Royce costs $5,000. But what you're getting from the record label, you give him $850,000. He's making double than you would get for the Rolls Royce, and you're only getting an extra $100,000. And the problem with that situation is that if it's stupid to not give your Rolls Royce away, it's got to be stupid to not give your IP away too. And I think that that's the problem. I think that a lot of African American businesses need to focus on self-sufficiency and autonomy, owning your own. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Clyde Anderson, one of my favorite philosophers, he gave an analogy. He said, it's a difference between saying you own something and you're independent versus really owning it. A lot of these guys, that was record producers back then, had all these big records and stuff like that back in the day. You know what, Joker, they didn't own the company. They had production deals. They had glorified production deals disguised and presented as a record deal. But the record company owned all of the property, the masters and the publishing. So we got to get out of that inappropriate behavior mentality. We got to get back into the mentality of actually owning. If you go and you Google hip hop fraternity and you look at trademark, my name gonna pop up.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? I own 100% of my company, all my company. And when you own your company, guess what you could do? I done raised millions of dollars. We just built the app. We got the app. It's called HHF Social. You know what I'm saying? It takes 35 to 40 coders to code it. To build your own social media app, it ain't as easy as you think it is. But we pay, over $500,000 to have that done. But don't feel sorry for me because we were able to raise the money from all sources. Right. Because we created a S corporation, a C corporation, we was able to get money for those stocks that we had within the company. So we sold a significant amount of stocks to investors, and Ice-T even came in as an investor at $2 million. You know what I'm saying? So we take that money and we flip that money, and we did it because we were independent. Now, if you don't own Universal, you can't raise money. If you don't own Atlantic Records, you can't raise money, but they do it all the time on your IP. They're raising money. They're going in there. They're soliciting their business partners and their potential investors, their venture capitalists, and they say, hey, look here, we own billions of dollars worth of catalog. We need $250,000. We need $250 million, and they're getting it on a daily.